All right, let's get right into it. We've got four brand new flagship phones, and they're all claiming they're the best. But, when the sun goes down and the lights get low, only one can really be crowned the king of night photography. So welcome to the ultimate flagship camera battle. So, that is the big question we're tackling today. Which one of these phones truly conquers the dark? We're putting the iPhone 17 Pro Max, the Galaxy S25 Ultra, the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and the Vivo X200 Ultra through a gauntlet of nighttime tests to see which one actually shines when it matters most. And here they are, our contenders. Just looking at the specs, it's already a fascinating matchup. You've got Samsung just going all in on that massive 200-megapixel sensor. Then you have the iPhone and Vivo, which share the largest sensor size, and that's absolutely crucial for grabbing as much light as possible. The Pixels over here boasting the widest aperture. But listen, specs are only one part of the story. Let's see how they actually perform in the real world. Okay, let's kick things off with round one, the main photo battle. We're going to be testing the modes that you probably use the most: the standard wide shot, the big expansive ultra wide, and of course, portrait mode. This is really where first impressions are made. First up is the standard wide-angle shot. Now, this is the go-to for most people, right? You pull out your phone, you snap a pic. But at night, this is a huge challenge. Trying to balance those bright city lights with the deep, dark shadows without turning everything into a grainy mess, that's where a lot of phones just fall apart. Let's see how these did. So what's really interesting here is how two of the biggest names in the game stumbled right out of the gate. The iPhone completely blew out the exposure, making the person in the photo look like a ghost and just killing the whole nighttime vibe. The Pixel, on the other hand, went way too far in the other direction. Its processing created this super over-sharpened, almost artificial look that's just really harsh, especially on faces. And, well, the source puts it best. Vivo just nailed it. It somehow found that perfect sweet spot. It's bright enough so you can see all the detail, but it's still dark enough that it actually feels like night. It kept the mood, the colors were perfect, a clear, decisive win in our very first test. All right, let's move on to the ultra-wide lens. This one is fantastic for capturing those huge, sweeping landscapes or big group shots. But the trade-off is usually a smaller sensor, which often really struggles in low light. Let's see who managed to pull this one off. And again, the results were just all over the map. The iPhone's shot came out way too warm, the Pixel looked kind of reddish and overprocessed, and the Samsung was a little too cool and clinical. Vivo took another win in one outdoor test, but, and this is interesting, in a different, really challenging setup, the iPhone actually pulled ahead. So you see, it's not always a simple, clean sweep. Okay, now on to my personal favorite, portrait mode. The goal here is simple, right? We want a beautiful, natural-looking photo with that nice, blurry background, and crucially, you need clean edge detection around the subject. This is a massive test of a phone's software. This is where the magic is supposed to happen. And wow, the results, when you zoom in, were just night and day. I mean, on one side, you have the Vivo, which is just stunning. The colors pop, the contrast is perfect, and the line around the subject is super sharp. And then you have the iPhone, which honestly just produced a blurry, unusable mess. So the big takeaway here is that in still photography, Vivo is building a really commanding lead. But hey, photos are only half the battle, aren't they? Let's switch gears and move on to round two, the ultimate video test. Because look, capturing a great photo in the dark is hard enough. Capturing great video, that's a whole other level of difficult. So a quick look at the specs shows some pretty different philosophies at play. You've got Samsung and Vivo pushing for that massive 8K resolution. Meanwhile, the iPhone is focusing on super smooth, slow motion with 4K at 120 frames per second. The Pixel kind of lands in the middle, but again, how does any of this actually translate to real-world quality? Well, in the main video test, a familiar problem popped up again for the Pixel. Its stabilization just isn't quite good enough, which leads to shaky, washed-out footage. And the Vivo, our photo champion, actually showed some surprising blur and noise here. Samsung did pretty well, but its colors were just a little too saturated, a little too punchy. The winner here? The iPhone. It delivered the most stable, the most natural, and the most true-to-life video of the bunch. Next up, we've got portrait video, sometimes called cinematic mode. Now, this is supposed to apply that beautiful background blur you see in photos to moving video. But this test revealed a really surprising and, frankly, pretty unacceptable failure from two of the biggest players. Just look at this. The iPhone and the Galaxy, they simply failed to do the one thing this mode is designed for. They didn't apply any background blur at all. I mean, sure, you could add it later in an editor, but you shouldn't have to. The Pixel and the Vivo, on the other hand, actually did the job. And yeah, their blur was a little inconsistent at times, but at least they worked as advertised. This is a major misstep for Apple and Samsung. All right, let's head into our final round, the selfies and zoom showdown. We're going to be testing the cameras that people use for some very specific but very important shots, capturing themselves and capturing things that are far away. So we're kicking things off with a big spec punch from Vivo, coming in with a massive 50-megapixel sensor for its front-facing camera. I mean, on paper, that should be a gigantic advantage. And in the other corner, you have the iPhone with a brand new but much smaller 18-megapixel sensor. So you'd expect a pretty clear winner here, wouldn't you? Well, this is exactly why we do the tests. The best selfie camera is the iPhone. Yep. Despite having way fewer megapixels, its processing software delivered a warmer, more balanced, and more detailed result. Vivo shots, surprisingly, came out a little bit soft and had this noticeable green tint. It just goes to show you that the software and processing are every bit as important as the hardware itself. Okay, now for the final camera test, the telephoto zoom lens. After that little selfie surprise, you might be wondering if another upset is on the way. But in this case, a very familiar pattern is about to reemerge. And there it is. The source puts it plainly. No surprise here. Vivo once again looks excellent. While the other phones kind of struggled with focus or produced these overprocessed images, the Vivo just delivered the most natural and effortless-looking shots. It really cemented its reputation as the photography powerhouse of this group. And that's it. The tests are done. The points have been tallied. After a really hard-fought battle across photos, videos, selfies, and Zoom, it is finally time to crown our king of the night. And the winner, by a pretty comfortable margin, is the Vivo X200 Ultra. It just absolutely dominated the photography categories. The iPhone 17 Pro Max comes in a very respectable second place, and that's largely thanks to its strong video and selfie performance. The Galaxy S25 Ultra takes third, with the Pixel unfortunately finishing in last place this time around. So, what's the final takeaway from all this? Well, it's pretty simple. If you want the absolute best phone for taking pictures in the dark, the Vivo X200 Ultra is the undisputed champion, no question. But if you are obsessed with selfies, the iPhone is your best bet. And if video is your main thing, both the iPhone and the Galaxy are very strong contenders. As for the Pixel, well, there's definitely some room for improvement there. And that brings us to the final question for you. Seeing such a clear winner in night photography and some pretty surprising weaknesses from the big established names, is that enough to make you consider switching brands? Think about it.